The end of the aircraft carrier? You know, for almost 100 years, one type of ship has absolutely dominated the seas. But today, we're going to tackle a question that is forcing a major rethink of naval strategy everywhere.
I mean, for over 75 years, the aircraft carrier has been the undisputed king of the seas, right? Think about it. It's a floating fortress, a mobile piece of home turf that can project power anywhere on the planet. But what happens when a new kind of weapon comes along that threatens to make this king obsolete? That's the big question we're diving into today.
Okay, so first things first, let's really break down the problem. How did this unsinkable titan suddenly find itself in the crosshairs? You have to understand, since World War II, everything in naval warfare has revolved around the aircraft carrier. We're talking about entire fleets, these massive carrier strike groups whose main job, their one primary mission, was to act as bodyguards for this floating fortress so its planes could go out and do their thing.
But now, the game is completely changing. Potential rivals are creating these sophisticated defensive bubbles. The strategy is called anti-access/area denial, or A2/AD for short. And the goal is pretty straightforward. Create a massive keep-out zone. Make it so dangerous that a $10 billion carrier can't even think about getting close enough to launch its jets, and they've got a seriously scary new tool to enforce it.
So what is this new tool? Well, it's a technology that is so ridiculously fast, it's not just an evolution, it's a revolution in warfare. Yep, we're talking about hypersonic weapons.
So what exactly is hypersonic speed? We're talking about anything above Mach 5. That's 5 times the speed of sound, over 6,000 kilometers an hour. This isn't just a little bit faster than what came before. It is a total quantum leap. It completely rewrites the rules of attack and defense.
And these things basically come in 2 main flavors. First, you've got the hypersonic glide vehicle, the HGV. It gets launched up high on a rocket, then separates and glides down on this wild, unpredictable path. Then there's the hypersonic cruise missile, or HCM. This one's powered by a wild new kind of engine called a scramjet, and it just screams along much closer to the ground. The bottom line? Both are designed to be, for all practical purposes, unstoppable.
And here's an artist's concept of what that HGV looks like. It's literally surfing on the upper edge of the atmosphere, glowing red-hot from the insane friction, all while maneuvering towards its target. Just incredible.
So let's really get into why these things are a defender's worst nightmare. First, the speed is just insane. A target 500 kilometers out, it can be hit in just over 4 minutes. There's almost zero time to react. Second, it's not just fast, it's shifty. A traditional ballistic missile flies in a nice, predictable arc. These things can change course, making them nearly impossible to intercept. Plus, they fly in this weird blind spot. Too low for our big space-based early warning satellites to track well, but too high for a lot of ground radar. And get this, the sheer heat of their speed creates a plasma sheath around them that can actually mess with radar signals. Talk about a tough nut to crack.
And look, this isn't some sci-fi movie concept. This is real, and it's happening right now. In fact, reports show that nations like China have been testing these things at a breakneck pace, maybe 20 times as many tests as the US. They're developing weapons like the DF-17 missile. So yeah, this threat is very real, and it's here today.
Okay, so you're faced with a weapon you can't stop. What do you do? Well, the Navy's answer isn't just about building a better missile shield. They're throwing out the old playbook and writing a completely new one.
See, the old model was all about concentration. It's that classic, don't put all your eggs in one basket problem, except they did. The basket was the aircraft carrier, the one big, high-value unit, and the rest of the fleet was there to protect it. Super powerful, for sure, but it also paints a giant bullseye on that one spot.
So the new idea is called Distributed Maritime Operations, or DMO, and it's basically the exact opposite. Instead of one big, concentrated fist, think of it more like a spider's web, with lots of ships and assets spread way out. It's a concept that's all about distribution, integration, and maneuver. The goal is to make it so that there is no single juicy target. The enemy can't find your center of gravity because it's everywhere at once.
And you can really see the difference here. The old carrier strike group, concentrated, centralized command, and primarily focused on defending that one big ship. DMO, it's all about being dispersed, decentralized, and going on the offense. The key idea isn't just to bring the fight to the enemy anymore, it's to create what they're calling a kill web. So, imagine a drone spots a target, right? That info instantly zips over to a destroyer hundreds of miles away, which launches a missile. It's about connecting any sensor to any shooter, creating this overwhelming effect from a dozen different directions at once.
Okay, but this whole DMO thing creates a massive problem. To make it work, you've got to spread your ships out. The carrier has to hang back, way out of range of those hypersonic missiles, but the carrier's whole purpose is its planes. So how do you get your fighter jets into the fight if their home base is now hundreds of extra miles away?
Well, the answer starts with this number, 500 miles. That's how far away from its carrier a new kind of aircraft needs to be able to operate.
And while it's out there, it needs to be able to offload over 14,000 pounds of jet fuel,
which in turn boosts the range of a fighter jet like an F-35 by as much as 50%, a total game changer.
And this is the machine that makes it all happen, the MQ-25 Stingray. It's an unmanned tanker drone. Honestly, it's the linchpin for this entire new strategy. By sending these flying gas stations out ahead of the fleet, the fighter jets can top off their tanks mid-mission. That lets the carrier, the mothership, stay safely out of the danger zone while its air wing can still reach out and touch targets deep inside enemy territory. The Stingray is what makes distributed maritime operations possible.
So when you pull back and look at the big picture, what does this all mean for the future of naval warfare? It's really not just about one cool new drone or a scary new missile. It's about a fundamental change, a whole new mindset.
There's a great quote from a Navy commander, Anthony LaVopa, that really nails it. He says winning in the future means breaking the long-standing muscle memory of how we've always fought. It's not just about technology. It's a deep cultural shift away from thinking about that one big carrier and towards this new distributed way of fighting.
So, is the aircraft carrier obsolete? No, not at all. But its role? That's being totally redefined. It's no longer the lone queen on the chessboard that the entire game revolves around. Now it's becoming a hugely powerful piece, for sure, but as part of a much larger, interconnected, and distributed team. Which leaves us with a final, pretty deep question to chew on. In a world of intelligent swarms and hypersonic speeds, what does it truly mean to rule the waves?